Welcome to Learn Bible Languages, where we explore God's Word in multiple languages to grow in faith and deepen your language skills. Today, we're diving deep into Genesis 1,
Oh, Genesis 1.
exploring the beauty of creation in both English and Spanish.
Beautiful.
Get ready to unlock new depths in your faith and your language skills.
What's so fascinating about Genesis 1 is its poetic structure. It's not just a list of events, it's a carefully crafted narrative that reveals God's power and intentionality.
Yeah.
We'll see this reflected in both the English and Spanish versions.
Okay, let's unpack this. Genesis 1.1 in the King James Version reads, "In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth."
And in Spanish, it's En el principio creó Dios los cielos y la tierra. Let's break that down. The principio beginning, created Dios, God, los cielos, the heavens, and the tierra, earth.
I'm curious about los cielos being plural for heavens. What significance do you think that holds in the Spanish translation?
That's a great observation. The plural cielos emphasizes the vastness and grandeur of God's creation. It's as if the Spanish translation is inviting us to imagine a universe teeming with possibilities, a canvas ready for God's creative touch.
It makes me think about how ancient people must have felt gazing up at the night sky and feeling overwhelmed by the sheer scale of it all.
Right.
It must have amplified their sense of awe and wonder.
Absolutely. And it foreshadows the creation of celestial beings later in the Genesis account, hinting at a universe populated with more than just our planet.
Wow, so much depth packed into just one word. Yeah. Okay, moving on to verse 2, we read, "And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep.
Right.
And the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters."
The Spanish Reina Valera translation beautifully captures this primordial state.
Okay.
Y la tierra estaba desordenada y vacía, y las tinieblas estaban sobre la faz del abismo, y el Espíritu de Dios se movía sobre la faz de las aguas.
Let's break down some of those key words. We have desordenada, which means disordered or without form,
Yes.
and vacía, meaning void or empty. Those words really paint a picture of chaos, don't they?
They do. And notice how those words are juxtaposed with the phrase, El Espíritu de Dios se movía, meaning the Spirit of God moved. It sets up this beautiful contrast between the initial state of chaos and the presence of God's Spirit bringing order and life.
It's like God is hovering over this formless void, ready to breathe life into it. Now, in verse 3, we get to that iconic moment. And God said, "Let there be light." And there was light.
And in Spanish, this powerful declaration is, Y dijo Dios, sea la luz, y fue la luz. Yela and dijose Dios, God, si let there be la luz light, why and fu was la luz light.
The simplicity of that statement is striking. God speaks, and there's no elaborate process, no waiting period, just pure creative power.
Exactly. It emphasizes the immediacy of God's action. His word is not just a suggestion.
Right.
It's a creative force that brings things into being.
It's like a light switch being flipped, instantly illuminating the darkness. Now in verse 4 we read, "And God saw the light, that it was good. And God divided the light from the darkness."
The Spanish version echoes this divine observation. Y vio Dios que la luz era buena, y separó Dios la luz de las tinieblas. Y falló, saw Dios God que that the luz light era was buena, good, and separated Dios God la luz light from the tinieblas darkness.
Here we see God not only creating, but also evaluating his creation, recognizing its inherent goodness. It makes me wonder, what do you think is the significance of God repeatedly declaring his creation good?
That's a thought-provoking question. I think it speaks to God's intentionality and purpose in creation.
Okay.
He's not just randomly throwing things together. He's carefully crafting a world that is inherently good and beautiful.
It's like an artist stepping back from their masterpiece and feeling a sense of satisfaction and delight in what they've created.
Exactly. And it invites us to see the world through God's eyes, to appreciate the beauty and goodness that surrounds us, even amidst chaos and brokenness.
Now in verse 5, we get the establishment of the first day. "And God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And the evening and the morning were the first day."
The Spanish translation presents a slightly different order. Y llamó Dios a la luz día, y las tinieblas llamó noche, y fue la tarde y la mañana un día. Y llamó called Dios, God ate la de luz light día day, y ate la de mañana morning una día day, and fui it was la de tarde evening, y and la de mañana morning una día day.
What stands out to me is how the Spanish places evening before morning. I never really considered that before. It's a subtle difference, but it reflects a different cultural perspective on how a day begins, doesn't
It
it?
does. It's a reminder that even our understanding of time can be influenced by our cultural context.
Right.
And in the Hebrew culture from which the Old Testament originates, the day was reckoned from evening to evening.
That makes me think about the Jewish Sabbath, which begins at sunset on Friday and ends at sunset on Saturday. It's fascinating how these ancient cultural practices are embedded in the biblical text and can shed new light on our understanding.
It's a great example of how paying attention to cultural nuances can enrich our interpretation of Scripture.
Okay, on to verse 6. And God said, "Let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters."
The Spanish Reina Valera translation puts it this way: Luego dijo Dios, haya expansión en medio de las aguas, y separe las aguas de las aguas. Luego then díjose Dios, God, haya. Let there be expansion, expanse, and in medio of las the aguas waters, you, and separe, let it divide las the aguas waters, that from las the aguas waters.
I find the word expansion really intriguing. It evokes a sense of vastness and openness, like God is creating a boundless space within the water.
Yes, it paints a vivid picture of God's power to shape and define the world, carving out a space for the sky amidst the primordial waters.
It's like he's creating a giant dome, a canvas on which he's about to paint the rest of creation.
That's a beautiful analogy. It captures the sense of anticipation and wonder as God continues to shape the world.
Now, in verse 7, we get a closer look at this separation. And God made the firmament and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament. And it was so.
And in Spanish, hizo Dios la expansión y separó las aguas que estaban debajo de la expansión de las aguas que estaban sobre la expansión. Y fue así. And hizo Dios God la expansión, expansi, and separated, let's say, aguas waters, que which estaban were debajo under the expansion, expansity from las, the aguas waters que which estaban were sobre above la, the expansion, expanse y, and fue was así. So
Here again, we see that recurring theme of immediacy God commands, and it happens instantly. It reinforces the idea that his word has inherent creative power.
it's almost as if we're witnessing a time-lapse video of creation, with each divine command resulting in an immediate transformation. It highlights the awe-inspiring power and efficiency of God's creative work.
Okay, in verse 8, we get the naming of this new expanse. And God called the firmament heaven, and the evening and the morning were the second day.
And in Spanish, y llamó Dios a la expansión cielos, y fue la tarde y la mañana el día segundo. Y llamó called Dios God a toda the expansion expanse cielos heavens way, and fue la tarde evening way, and la de mañana morning al de día de segundo second.
So now we have a distinction between the waters above and the heavens, which we perceive as the sky. It's fascinating how the ancient understanding of the cosmos is reflected in this verse.
It is. The idea of a firmament separating waters above and below was a common cosmological belief in ancient times.
Right?
It shows us how the Bible is rooted in the cultural context of its time, while also revealing timeless truths about God and creation.
It makes you wonder how those ancient people viewed the world around them, doesn't it? Now, in verse 9, we get the separation of land and sea. And God said, "Let the waters under the heaven be gathered together unto one place, and let the dry land appear." And it was so.
The Spanish Reina Valera translation describes this separation with a particularly evocative verb. Dijo también Dios, júntanse las aguas que están debajo de los cielos en un lugar, y descúbrase lo seco, y fue así. Díjose también also Dios, God, júntense, let them gather las aguas waters que that están debajo under the of los cielos heavens in un lugar place, and descúbrase, that it be uncovered, lo, the seco dry, and fue was así, so.
I love the word descubrase. It implies that the dry land was hidden beneath the waters and is now being revealed uncovered for the first time. It adds a sense of drama and anticipation to the creation narrative.
Yeah, it does. It's like God is pulling back a curtain to unveil a masterpiece.
It's making me picture the creation story in a whole new light. It's not just about things popping into existence. It's about God shaping and revealing, bringing order and beauty out of chaos.
And that's the beauty of exploring the Bible in different languages. It can spark new insights and deepen our appreciation for God's Word, helping us see familiar passages in a fresh way.
Okay, in verse 10, we get the naming of these newly separated realms. And God called the dry land earth, and the gathering together of the waters called he seas. And God saw that it was good.
The Spanish translation mirrors this naming ceremony. Llamó Dios a la seco tierra y a la reunión de las aguas llamó mares, y vio Dios que era bueno. Y llamó called Dios God a Tu lo de secola, tierra, earth, yan, ato, the reunion gathering, de las is the aguas, waters, llamo, cold mares. Sees why, and Dios saw Dios God que ad era was bueno, good.
We see God once again bringing order and definition to his creation, naming the land and the sea, establishing boundaries and distinctions.
It's a powerful reminder that God is a God of order, not chaos. He brings structure and purpose to the world, creating a harmonious balance between different elements.
And it's interesting how the act of naming also implies ownership and care.
Hmm.
God is not just creating these realms, he's claiming them as his own, taking responsibility for their well-being.
That's a great point. It foreshadows the idea of humanity being given dominion over creation, entrusted with the care and stewardship of God's world.
And it's a reminder that our role in creation is not to exploit or dominate, but to cultivate and preserve, acting as responsible stewards of God's gifts.
Exactly. It's a call to live in harmony with nature, recognizing our interconnectedness with all of creation.
Now, at verse 11, we get a burst of life. And God said, "Let the earth bring forth grass, the herb yielding seed, and the fruit tree yielding fruit after his kind, whose seed is in itself upon the earth." And it was so.
The Spanish translation paints a vivid picture of this botanical explosion. Después dijo Dios, produzca la tierra hierba verde, hierba que dé semilla, árbol de fruto que dé fruto según su género, que su semilla esté en él sobre la tierra, y fue así. Después de Dios, Dios God, let it produce the tierra, earth, hierba, grass, verde, green, hierba, grass, que that day yield semilla, seed, árbol, tree, de fruto, fruit, que that day yields fruto, fruit, según according to su, its género, que that sweet semilla, seed, is in él, it sobre upon la de tierra, earth, why? And fue was así so.
I love how the Spanish emphasizes the hierba verde, the green grass, as if we can almost see the vibrancy of those first plants springing forth from the earth.
It definitely adds to the sensory experience, allowing us to imagine the sights and smells of this newfound paradise.
And the sheer variety of plant life that God creates is astounding. From grasses to herbs to fruit trees, each bearing seed according to its kind. It speaks to God's boundless creativity and his delight in diversity.
It's like he's creating a botanical garden, filling the earth with a tapestry of colors, textures, and aromas. And it's all happening at his command, with each plant perfectly designed to fulfill its unique purpose within the ecosystem.
Okay, in verse 12, we see the fruit of this divine command. And the earth brought forth grass, and herb yielding seed after his kind, and the tree yielding fruit whose seed was in itself after his kind, and God saw that it was good.
The Spanish version echoes this abundant growth. Produjo, pues, la tierra hierba verde, hierba que da semilla según su naturaleza, y árbol que da fruto, cuya semilla está en según su género, y vio Dios que era bueno. Produjo, produced, pues, de tierra de hierba gras, verde, green, hierba gras, que da gives semilla seed según according to su árbol que da gives fruto, fruit cuya, whose semilla seed está is in él, it's según according to su its género, kind of variant. En bio, so Dios, God, que that era was bueno, good.
It's almost like we're watching a time-lapse video of creation unfolding with each divine command, followed by an immediate and abundant response from the earth.
It's a reminder of the interconnectedness of all things God speaks, and the earth responds, bringing forth life in all its diversity and splendor.
It's a beautiful dance between the Creator and his creation.
Yeah.
And God sees that it is good, reaffirming his delight in what he has made.
It's a reminder that we too can find joy and wonder in the natural world, recognizing the beauty and order that God has brought into being.
And that brings us to the end of the third day, as described in verse 13. And the evening and the morning were the third day.
And in Spanish, y fue la tarde y la mañana el día tercero, y en fue was la de tarde evening, y en la de mañana morning el de día de tercero, third.
3 days in, and creation is really taking shape. We have light sky, land, sea, and now plant life. It's amazing how much God has accomplished in such a short time.
It is, and yet we're just getting started. The stage is set for even greater wonders to come.
Speaking of which, verse 14 marks a significant shift. And God said, "Let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and years."
The Spanish Reina Valera translation uses a particularly evocative word to describe these celestial bodies.
Yeah.
Dijo luego Dios, haya lumbreras en la expansión de los cielos para separar el día de la noche y sirvan de señales para las estaciones para días y años. Díjose luego then Dios, God, haya, let there be lumbreras, luminaries in la de expansion, expanses de día of the cielos, heavens, to separar el de día de from la de noche, night, d, and sirvan Let them serve de as señales, signs para horas, de estaciones, seasons, para for días, days, y años, years.
I'm drawn to the word lumbreras. It's not just lights, but luminaries conveying a sense of brilliance and majesty that isn't quite captured by the English word lights.
Exactly. It evokes a sense of wonder and awe, suggesting that these celestial bodies are more than just functional objects. They're dazzling displays of God's creative power.
It makes me think about those incredible images from the Hubble telescope.
Yeah.
The swirling galaxies and nebulae that seem to defy description. It's as if God is painting the universe with light, creating a cosmic masterpiece for our eyes to behold.
That's a beautiful way to put it. And notice how God creates these lumbreras, not just to illuminate the earth, but also to servandicianes, to serve as signs.
Right.
They mark time, establishing seasons, days, and years, bringing order and predictability to the world.
It highlights the intentionality and purpose behind God's creation, doesn't it? Nothing is random or haphazard.
Right.
Each element serves a specific role in the grand design.
Precisely. It's an invitation to look beyond the surface and recognize the intricate tapestry of interconnectedness that God has woven into creation.
Verse 15 further emphasizes this purpose. And let them be for lights in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon the earth. And it was so.
And in Spanish. Y son por lumbreras en la expansión de los cielos para alumbrar sobre la tierra. Y fue así. Y son let them be por as lumbreras luminares en la expansión de los cielos heavens para to alumbrar, to illuminate sobre upon la tierra as what? And fue was así. So.
The repetition of lumbreras really emphasizes the splendor of these celestial lights.
Yeah.
It's as if God is making sure we don't miss the magnificence of what he has created.
Absolutely. He wants us to be awestruck by the wonders of the universe, to recognize his power and glory on display in the heavens.
Now, in verse 16, we get a more specific description. And God made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day and the lesser light to rule the night. He made the stars also.
And in Spanish, e hizo Dios las dos grandes lumbreras, la lumbrera mayor para que señorease en el día, y la lumbrera menor para que señorease en la noche. Hizo también las estrellas. Y en hizo Dios God las tapias, two grandes, great lumbreras luminares, la de lumbrera luminary mayor, greater para que señorase to rule en el día de, y en la de lumbrera luminary menor le separa, porque señorase to rule en la de noche night. Hizo también also las stars.
So now we have the sun and moon and the stars, all created by God and placed in the heavens. It's as if God is setting the stage for life on earth, providing light and warmth and a way to mark time.
It's a reminder that everything in creation has a purpose and a place. Nothing is arbitrary or insignificant. Every element plays a role in God's grand design.
In the Spanish word señorase, to rule, suggests that these celestial bodies have a specific dominion, a role to play in God's governance of the world.
It reinforces the idea that God is in control, that he has established order and purpose even in the vast expanse of the universe.
Okay, in verse 17, we see God's deliberate placement of these heavenly lights. And God set them in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon the earth.
The Spanish Reina Valera translation echoes this placement. Y los puso Dios en la expansión de los cielos para alumbrar sobre la tierra. Y las tempuso set Dios God in la de expanse of los cielos, heavens, para to luminate sobre upon la de tierra, earth.
It's a simple verse, but it speaks volumes about God's care and attention to detail. He carefully placed the sun, moon, and stars in the sky to provide light for the earth, to illuminate our world and make life possible.
And the Spanish word alumbrar, to illuminate, really emphasizes the life-giving power of that light.
It makes me think about how plants rely on sunlight for photosynthesis, how animals need light for navigation and vision, how our bodies need sunlight to produce vitamin D. It's a reminder that light is essential for life, and God made sure that the earth was well provided for.
Absolutely. It speaks to God's loving provision, his desire for his creation to flourish and thrive.
Now, verse 18 re-emphasizes the purpose of these celestial bodies, and to rule over the day and over the night, and to divide the light from the darkness. And God saw that it was good.
And in Spanish, y enseñorear en el día y en la noche, y para separar la luz de las tinieblas. Y vio Dios que era bueno. Y emet para to señorear to rule en el día de y en la de noche night, en para to separate la de luz light from las de tinieblas, darkness. Why? I saw Dios, God, que that era was bueno, good.
We see that recurring theme again. God creates, he observes, and he affirms the goodness of what he has made.
It's like a divine seal of approval, a stamp of satisfaction on God's creative work.
And the repetition of señorear emphasizes the authority and purpose that God has given to the sun and moon, reminding us that even the celestial bodies are part of God's grand plan.
It's a reminder that God is in control, that he has established order and purpose even in the vast expanse of the universe.
Okay, verse 19 brings us to the end of another day, and the evening and the morning were the fourth day.
And in Spanish. Y fue la tarde y la mañana el día cuarto. Yuen fue was la da tarde evening, yuen la da mañana morning. El de día de cuarto, fourth. 4 days down, 2 to go. We're nearing the climax of the creation story,
Oh, wow.
and the anticipation is building.
I'm on the edge of my seat. Okay, verse 20 tells us, "And God said, Let the waters bring forth abundantly the moving creature that hath life, and fowl that may fly above the earth in the open firmament of heaven."
The Spanish Reina Valera translation captures this burst of aquatic and avian life. Dijo Dios, produzcan las aguaceres vivientes y aves que vuelen sobre la tierra en la abierta expansión de los cielos. Dijo, Dios. God produzcan, let them produce a las de aguas waters seres, beings vivientes, living yon aves, que that vuelen fly sobre above la de tierra earth, and in la de abierta, open expansion, expansing de cielos heavens.
It's like God is opening a whole new chapter in creation, bringing forth life in the waters and the skies. The world is becoming even more vibrant and dynamic.
It's an explosion of life. And the Spanish phrase, seres vivientes, living beings, emphasizes the vitality and energy of these creatures.
Yeah.
They're not just objects. They're beings filled with God's breath of life, each with its unique role to play in the ecosystem.
And the image of birds soaring through the abierta expansion, the open expanse of the heavens, is just breathtaking. It makes me want to go bird watching to observe the grace and beauty of these creatures in flight.
It's a reminder of the freedom and wonder that God has woven into creation, inviting us to marvel at the diversity and beauty of his handiwork.
Verse 21 describes these creatures in more detail. "And God created great whales, and every living creature that moveth, which the waters brought forth abundantly after their kind, and every winged fowl after his kind. And God saw that it was good."
The Spanish version echoes this creative abundance. Y creó Dios los grandes monstruos marinos, y todo ser viviente que se mueve que las aguas produjeron según su género, y toda ave alada según su especie. Y vio Dios que era bueno. Y en created Dios. God los de grandes great monstruos marinos, marino en todo, all ser bien viviente, living, que, that se mueve, moves, que, which las, the aguas, waters produjeron, brought forth según, according to su, its género, kind, and toda all ave bird alada, wing según, according to su, its species way. And vio so Dios que that era was bueno good.
We see God's creativity on full display here, creating a vast array of sea creatures and birds, each one unique and perfectly designed for its environment.
It's like he's filling the oceans and skies with a kaleidoscope of colors and shapes, from the majestic whales to the tiniest fish, from the soaring eagles to the hummingbirds flitting among the flowers.
And I love how the Spanish uses monstruos marinos, marine monsters, to describe the great whales. It adds a sense of awe and wonder to these magnificent creatures, reminding us of their immense power and size.
It definitely captures the grandeur and mystery of these animals, highlighting their unique place in the created order.
And once again, we see that God sees that everything he has made is good, reaffirming his delight and satisfaction in his creation.
It's an invitation to look at the world around us with a sense of wonder and gratitude, recognizing the beauty and diversity that God has brought into being.
In verse 22, God blesses these newly created creatures. And God blessed them, saying, "Be fruitful and multiply, and fill the waters in the seas, and let fowl multiply in the earth."
The Spanish translation echoes this divine blessing. Y Dios los bendijo, diciendo, fructificad y multiplicaos, y llenad las aguas en los mares, y multiplíquense las aves en la tierra. Y Dios, God los también bendijo, blessed, diciendo, saying, fructificad, be fruitful, and multiplicaos, multiply and diander, tifleles, the aguas waters, and agua, en de los de mares y sin sea, and multiplíquense, let them multiply les the aves, birds, and in la tierra, earth.
God is giving these creatures. God is giving these creatures the ability to reproduce and fill the earth with life. It's a beautiful image of God's blessing and his desire for life to flourish and abound.
It's an incredible act of trust, isn't it? God is entrusting these creatures with the continuation of his creative work, giving them a role to play in the unfolding story of life on Earth.
It makes you think about how those first creatures have multiplied and diversified over millions of years, evolving and adapting to fill every niche and corner of our planet. From the depths of the oceans to the highest mountain peaks, life has found a way to thrive thanks to God's initial blessing.
It's a testament to the resilience and adaptability of God's creation, And it speaks to his enduring faithfulness in sustaining the world he has made.
Verse 23 marks the end of another creative day, and the evening and the morning were the fifth day.
And in Spanish, y fue la tarde y la mañana el día quinto. Quinto fue was la tarde, evening, y la mañana, morning, the día de quinto, fifth. 5 days down, 2 to go. We're nearing the climax of the creation story, and the anticipation is building.
I'm on the edge of my seat. Okay, verse 24 tells us, and God said, let the earth bring forth the living creature after his kind, cattle and creeping thing, and beast of the earth after his kind. And it was so.
The Spanish version describes this terrestrial menagerie with vivid detail. Luego dijo Dios, produzca la tierra seres vivientes según su género, bestias y serpientes y animales de la tierra según su especie. Y fue así. Luego díjose Dios, God produzca, let it bring forth la tierra, earth, seres, beings vivientes, living según, according to su its género, kind, bestias, beasts, sí, and serpientes, serpents, sí, and animales de of la tierra, earth, según, according to su its species, he. And fue was así. So
it's like God is unleashing a parade of creatures onto the land, filling the earth with every imaginable form of animal life.
it's another explosion of diversity. From the majestic bestias, beasts, to the slithering serpientes, serpents, God's creativity knows no bounds.
The Spanish word bestias really captures the wildness and power of these animals, doesn't it? It evokes images of lions roaring and the savanna elephants, lumbering through the jungle bears, fishing for salmon in rushing rivers.
It definitely adds a sense of primal energy and untamed beauty to the creation narrative, reminding us of the raw power of nature that God has unleashed.
Okay, verse 25 describes this animal kingdom in more detail. And God made the beasts of the earth after his kind, and cattle after their kind, everything that creepeth upon the earth after his kind. And God saw that it was good.
The Spanish translation emphasizes this ordered diversity. E hizo Dios animales de la tierra según su género, y ganado según su género, y todo animal que se arrastra sobre la tierra según su especie, y vio Dios que era bueno. Y He made Dios God animals there, of la de tierra earth, según according to su its género kind, y and ganado cattle, según according to su its género kind, y en todo, every animal que that se arrastra creeps sobre upon la de tierra earth, según according to su its species, way, and vio Dios God que that era was bueno, good.
It's like God is carefully categorizing his creation, organizing it according to its kind, creating a system of order and harmony within the diversity.
Exactly. It's not just a random assortment of creatures. God is establishing a framework for life on Earth, a web of interconnectedness and interdependence.
And it's another reminder that God sees the inherent goodness in all that he has made, even the creatures that might seem scary or strange to us.
It's a challenge to expand our understanding of beauty and recognize the value and purpose of every creature in God's grand design.
And now we come to the pinnacle of creation, the moment we've all been waiting for. Verse 26 tells us, and God said, let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth.
The Spanish translation captures the weight of this declaration. Entonces dijo Dios, hagamos al hombre a nuestra imagen, conforme a nuestra semejanza, y señor en los peces del mar, en las aves de los cielos, en las bestias, en toda la tierra, y en todo animal que se arrastra sobre la tierra. Entonces díjose Dios God, hagamos. Let us make all the hombre man in nuestra, our image or our present, almost according to nuestra, our semejanza likeness, and señorene, let him rule in over los peces fish of the mar, and over los aves birds de los cielos, heavens, and over los cielos, heavens, and over los cielos, vences vicen over la tierra, earth and over todo, every animal que se arrastra creeps sobre upon la tierra, earth.
This verse is packed with theological significance. It's the moment when God creates humanity, setting us apart from the rest of creation by making us in his own image.
It's a profound statement about the unique dignity and value of human life. We are not just another species. We are reflections of God himself, bearing his image and likeness.
And what about the word signore, to rule? Does that mean we have absolute control over creation, the right to do whatever we want with the earth and its resources?
That's a question that has been debated for centuries. Some interpret it as a license to exploit and dominate nature, but I think a closer look at the context suggests a different understanding.
I'm all ears. What do you think is the true meaning of dominion in this verse?
I believe it's more about responsible stewardship than absolute control. God is entrusting humanity with the care of his creation, calling us to manage its resources wisely and protect its delicate balance.
That makes a lot more sense. It's not about domination or exploitation, but about living in harmony with nature, recognizing our interconnectedness with all living things.
Exactly. We are called to be caretakers, not conquerors, to cultivate and preserve the earth for future generations.
It's a sobering responsibility, but also an incredible privilege. To be made in God's image and entrusted with the care of his creation is a profound honor.
It's a reminder of the unique role that humanity plays in the unfolding story of God's world. We are not just observers, we are participants called to partner with God in the ongoing work of creation and redemption.
Verse 27 elaborates on this creation of humanity. So God created man in his own image. In the image of God created he him. Male and female created he them.
And in Spanish, y creó Dios al hombre a su imagen, e imagen de Dios lo creó, varón y hembra los creó. Y en creó Dios, God al de hombre man, en his image and image, in image and image of Dios. God law him created varón, male, and hembra female los them created. We see here the creation of both male and female, both equally bearing God's image.
It's a powerful statement about the equality and dignity of all people, regardless of gender.
It's a foundation for a just and equitable society where all are valued and respected as image bearers of God.
And it sets the stage for the beautiful tapestry of human relationships, the diversity and complementarity that enrich our lives and reflect God's creative genius.
It's a reminder that we are all part of one human family created in God's image and called to love and serve one another.
Verse 28 continues this theme of blessing and responsibility. And God blessed them, and God said unto them, Be fruitful and multiply, and replenish the earth, and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over every living thing that moveth upon the earth.
The Spanish version echoes this divine mandate. Y los bendijo Dios, y les dijo, Fructificad y multiplicaos, llenad la tierra y sojuzgadla, y señoread en los peces del mar, en las aves de los cielos, y en todas las bestias que se mueven sobre la tierra. Y en los dem bendijo, blessed Dios, guardianles. To them dijo se fructificad, be fruitful way, and multiplicaos, multiply llenad fila de tierra earth ya, and sojuzgadla subdue it, ya and señored rule en, over los de peces fish of the mar sea, and over las de aves birds of the los heavens ya, and over todas all las de bestias beasts que that se mueven mu sobre on la de tierra earth.
God is giving humanity a mandate to care for creation, to cultivate it and manage its resources responsibly.
It's a call to be stewards of God's world, to work in partnership with him to ensure the flourishing of life on earth.
And it's interesting how the Spanish word sojuzgadla, subdue, can have different connotations. It's important to remember that true dominion involves respect and care, not domination or exploitation.
It's about finding a balance between our needs and the needs of the planet, recognizing that we are part of a delicate ecosystem that requires our careful attention and protection.
It's a challenge that we face even today, as we grapple with issues like climate change, pollution, and loss of biodiversity. We need to rediscover the true meaning of dominion, embracing our role as responsible stewards of God's creation.
It's a call to action, an invitation to live in a way that honors God's gift of creation and ensures its well-being for generations to come.
Okay, in verse 29, God provides for the needs of humanity and animals. And God said, Behold, I have given you every herb-bearing seed which is upon the face of all the earth, and every tree, in the which is the fruit of a tree yielding seed. To you it shall be for meat.
The Spanish translation echoes this provision. Y dijo Dios, y aquí que os he dado toda planta que da semilla, que está sobre toda la tierra, y todo árbol en que hay fruto y que da semilla os serán para comer. And dijo said Dios, God, he aquí, behold, que that os to you he dado. I have given toda, every plant que da, gives semilla seed que, which está, is sobre upon toda, all la de tierra earth, he and todo, every arbor tree, and in que, which, hey, there is fruto, fruit, y, and que that da, gives semilla seed, os to you serán, shall be para, for comer to eat.
It's like a divine grocery list. God is providing for the needs of all living creatures, giving us plants and fruits for sustenance.
It's a reminder that our dependence on God extends even to our most basic needs. We rely on his provision for every breath we take and every bite we eat.
And it's a call to gratitude, to recognize and appreciate the abundance and variety of food that God has provided for us.
It's an invitation to savor the flavors of creation, to enjoy the fruits of the earth as a gift from our loving Creator.
Verse 30 extends this provision to the animal kingdom. And to every beast of the earth, and to every fowl of the air, and to everything that creepeth upon the earth, wherein there is life, I have given every green herb for meat. And it was so.
The Spanish translation emphasizes the universality of this provision. Y a toda bestia de la tierra, y a todas las aves de los cielos, y a todo lo que se arrastra sobre la tierra en que hay vida, toda planta verde le será para comer. Y fue así. Y han hecho toda, every bestia vista of the tierra, earth, y han hecho todas. All las de aves, the birds de los heavens, y han hecho todo, every lo que, that which se arrastra, creeps sobre upon la tierra, earth, in which there is vida, life, toda, every planta, plant verde, green, lest them será, should be para. For comer to eat. Why and for was así. So,
God is ensuring that all living creatures have a source of nourishment, reminding us of his care for all of creation from the smallest insect to the largest whale.
it highlights the interconnectedness of all living things, and it challenges us to live in a way that respects and protects the delicate balance of the ecosystem.
We are all part of the same web of life, dependent on God's grace and provision.
It's a call to humility and responsibility, recognizing that our actions have consequences for all of creation.
And finally, we come to the grand finale, the culmination of God's creative work. Verse 31 tells us, "And God saw everything that he had made, and behold, it was very good. And the evening and the morning were the sixth day."
The Spanish translation captures the sense of completion and satisfaction. Y vio Dios todo lo que había hecho, y aquí que era bueno en gran manera, y fue la tarde y la mañana el día sexto. And había saw Dios, God todo, everything, lo que that which había hecho, he had made he, and he aquí behold, que that era was bueno good en gran manera exceedingly. And fue was la de tarde evening, y la de mañana morning, el de día de sexto, six.
There we have it, the culmination of creation, a world teeming with life and beauty, declared by God himself to be bueno en gran manera, exceedingly good.
It's a moment of profound joy and celebration, a testament to the power and goodness of God's creative work.
It fills me with a sense of awe and gratitude, and it makes me want to go out and experience the beauty of God's creation firsthand, to savor the sights and sounds and smells of this amazing world he has made.
It's an invitation to live with a sense of wonder and appreciation, recognizing the fingerprints of God in every sunrise, every raindrop, every blade of grass, every creature great and small.
It's been such a rich and rewarding experience to unpack Genesis 1 in this way. I feel like I've gained a deeper appreciation for the beauty and complexity of God's Word and the power of language to illuminate its meaning.
I agree. It's amazing how even familiar passages can come alive in new ways when we explore them through the lens of different languages.
Absolutely. So which verse touched your heart and helped you learn today? Share in the comments below, and let's keep this conversation going. We'll see you in our next deep dive. Hasta luego.